What's up, audit fans? Dr. Amanda White here, and today we're making a video about a very serious topic, and that's the impact of the coronavirus 2019 on businesses and auditors when it comes to preparing audits of the financial statements. Now, today I'm not going to talk about any of the medical or cultural or socio-cultural issues that have been associated with the coronavirus. I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't talk about virus spread rates or what can protect you or anything like that. I'm not, an anthropology expert, so I'm not going to talk about the racism that many Asian people have faced in whatever country they're in response to the coronavirus. But I'm going to talk about what I know about and what I have expertise in, which is the impact on business and the impact that's going to have on auditors and audits of the financial statements. So let's get into it. You have to have been living under a rock to not have heard of the coronavirus for 2019. We could say 2019 because it was discovered in 2019, but it is now 2020. We're at the point where over 1,000 people have died from the coronavirus, most of those in China, and it's spread quite rapidly within China, and we're also seeing infections in other places around the world. So what is going to be the impact of the coronavirus on the worldwide economy? Well, we know that China is a manufacturing powerhouse. Lots of things around here in my office are made in China, probably some components of the light that I'm using. I know one of the stands that I'm using here for my iPad comes from Ulanzi, which is a Chinese IT and computing and photography products company. The coronavirus, people aren't going anywhere. Most factories are shut, which means that goods can't be produced. So what happens when goods can't be shipped to consumers and we can't make parts for other final products? Well, that's going to slow down the entire supply chain. So what is the supply chain? You've got raw materials get turned into some sort of components get produced into a finished good. That good is on-sold to customers. So if we can't process the raw materials, we can't make components, and we can't make finished goods, that's going to create real hassles for businesses. If businesses don't have products to sell, how are they going to generate cash flow? If they can't generate cash flow, then how are they going to pay their debts as and when they fall due? That raises the issue about going concern. Remember, going concern is a company's ability to pay their debts as they fall due. And we say, yes, a company is a going concern if we think they're going to pay their debts, usually for the foreseeable future, which is about a 12-month period. So for us as auditors, when we're looking at our clients, we need to look at what do. Do they rely on parts coming from China? Do they rely on a product coming from China? And is that slowdown in the supply chain going to affect sales? How much do they have in inventory? If there's not a lot in inventory, that lack of inventory as it wears down to nothing and then they're waiting for more goods to be manufactured, that's going to result in a drop in sales. A drop in sales is going to result in a drop in cash. And a drop in cash means we may not be able to pay our debts as they fall due. Now, those debts could be employee wages, it could be our utilities, rent, electricity, and it could be bank loans that we have that help fund our business and our organization. So this slowdown in one country is going to have a wide-reaching effect across the entire economy. And I saw an article that said that Harvey Norman, an Australian furniture and homewares retailer, has noticed a very distinct slowdown in their supply chain. They're expecting that people will have to put items on order and wait significant periods of time until those goods can be manufactured in China, shipped to Australia, and then delivered to their customers. Now, if you're a long-standing company, a company that's been around for a really long time, that has significant cash reserves, this is going to hurt, but you're still going to be in business. For businesses that run a bit leaner, that run on a just-in-time manufacturing process, that are really agile, that keep low levels of inventory, that are just starting out, this poses a much bigger threat. So what are the alternatives? You could move your manufacturing somewhere else. That might not be so easy if all of the machines that you have are built up in one particular factory. So you could move to other low-cost areas. Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, India, Bangladesh have all seen increases in manufacturing capacity as a result of the US-China trade tensions. When the US put a number of Chinese companies on their trade blacklist, a lot of companies started looking elsewhere and started diversifying their manufacturing. But if you can't, you're sort of stuck. So why don't those companies manufacture in their own local country? If I'm an Australian company relying on goods from China, why don't I consider starting up manufacturing in Australia? Well, the costs are much more expensive. Wage rates are higher, rent, utilities, etc. are higher, and it may not be easy to start up that manufacturing process really quickly in an agile way and then shut it down when China reopens. So what is going to be the impact on auditors? There is a great article by the Wall Street Journal, I'll link it in the description below, about what the impact could be for audit firms and the clients that they audit. I've been in contact with some of my alumni, former students of mine who are working in audit in China, and they're telling me that everyone's just been told to work from home. Nobody goes into the office, but the question is, how much of an audit can you actually do from home? You might be able to look at some information online. Perhaps if you can, you could interview some employees from the company through some sort of video chat system, but you're not going to be able to look at documents, inspect property, plant and equipment, inspect inventory, perhaps have group meetings unless you could do that electronically. So what does that mean for audits? Well, for 30 June year ends, for Australian companies that might have Chinese operations, there is a great risk that we're going to need scope limitations. And remember, a scope limitation is when we narrow the scope of the audit because we cannot get sufficient and appropriate evidence. If we can't get sufficient and appropriate evidence that's material but it's not pervasive, it's sort of self-contained, then we're going to need to give qualified opinions. However, if that information that we can't obtain is material and it's pervasive, so it's wide-reaching like the octopus, or it's really large, one really large piece of information that we need like the whale, and if you're wondering what I'm talking about in regards to the octopus and the whale, make sure you check out my other video on audit opinions. You're going to have to consider in these pervasive situations going for a disclaimer of opinion. And remember, a disclaimer of opinion is no opinion at all. I can't give an opinion because I can't actually get enough evidence to figure out what to do. Now, normally, of course, we see companies who receive qualified opinions normally have a negative stock price reaction because quite often the majority of qualifications or adverse opinions are the result of management refusing to make disclosures or changes to the accounts. It will be interesting to watch and see the market reaction if we have to give qualified or disclaimer of opinions because of the coronavirus. Will the market understand that the auditors couldn't actually get the evidence that they need to make their opinion, or will they demonstrate a misunderstanding of the audit process and what an audit is all about? That's something that will be interesting to see. Now, we know that companies within China need to have audits as a part of their market regulation. Australian companies who have subsidiaries in China or joint ventures in China, those components need to be audited as part of group audits. And the same for American, European listed companies that also have presences in China. Now, for companies that are heavily invested and their exposures in China are significant and material, being unable to get audit evidence for the Chinese subsidiary could have a flow-on effect to the main audit opinion for the parent company. Where that subsidiary is small or the effect is immaterial, then those companies may still be able to get an unqualified opinion, but potentially have an emphasis of matter paragraph to discuss the implications of exposures to manufacturing and other businesses within China. So remember, with group audits, you have the parent audit, you have all these subsidiaries, the subsidiaries have their own audits, and then they sort of feed up into the parent audit. So there could be some flow-on effects, especially if auditors can't get out to clients, can't gather all of that evidence and information. That scope limitation is really going to come into play. So now really it's just wait and see. For auditors, we're waiting to find out when can we go back to work, when is it safe from a health perspective to go back to work. So for all those people who are out there watching this video from behind a VPN in China, know that everybody in the world is sending their love and solidarity, especially to all of my students and all of my alumni who are out there in China. We're wishing you all the best. I'm looking forward to welcoming back all of my international students into Australia when our travel restrictions lift. Of course, if you have any questions about how the coronavirus might impact auditors, please pop them in the comments. I'll also link to some other videos made by some other academics about the potential impacts from a finance and economics and law perspective. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.